Now next speaker is Coco, is Kenny Carr, and she's going to talk about her research and diabetics.
Good afternoon. I'm Kimiko, also from the Professor Henry Lee's group, and I'm a PhD student from the School of Natural Science, University of Manchester. And I'm excited to introduce my project on smart sensors and wearables for point of care for diabetes patients. And to begin with, let me give you a very brief introduction of the diabetes. It is a growing global health crisis, and according to the International Diabetes Foundations, there are over 500 million people living with diabetes, and the number is still increasing. And according to the National Diabetes Audit, there are more than half percentage of the patients are aged over 60 years or over. And it indicates that the majority of the diabetes patients are elder people. Therefore, there's an urgent need for the monitoring of diabetes, especially for the elder people. But the current diabetes diagnosis are based on the biomarkers, and the monitoring method is based on the standardized and quality assurance laboratory measurements of the glucose and the HbA1c. But it has obvious disadvantage. Firstly, it's quite costly. You have to go to the hospital to do such monitoring. And it is relatively hysteresis. And of course, it requires a clinical environment and trained technicians. So to address these problems, I bring up my objectives of my project. The first step is to develop sensors and wearables that focus on three main different types of biomarkers. The first one is the foot skin temperature. The second one is the foot blood pressure, which is mainly focused on the diabetic foot problem. And the third one is quite common one, is the body fluid glucose. And based on those sensors and wearables, I'm aiming to design a PLC platform, which using the NFC technology, and my colleague has mentioned it before, is a near-field communication technology equipped on our mobile phone or other device that can allow the patients to manage their diabetes simply with their mobile phone. And once this device has been developed, it needs the validations and evaluation of its performance. And it will be performed in both lab environment, which our group will be performing that. And it also needs the help of the human participation, especially for the evaluation of its performance. And with those, hopefully it can help the monitoring and treatment of the diabetes, especially for the elder people. And there's a great opportunity. Our group has developed a device called the Smart Textile Patch. And Zhihong has already mentioned it. It can be produced in very small size, and it can be wearable, easy to use and reuse. Basically, the structure of it is quite simple. It is a wearable patch with an embroidery textile antenna. And it will also embed it with different sensors, like the temperature sensors for monitor of the foot skin temperature, or the pressure sensor to monitor the ankle blood pressure, or the glucose sensor to measure the glucose level in body fluids, such as lava or sweat. And it can be produced in battery-free form, so it is more easily to attach to our human body. And with a mobile phone, basically the Android smartphone, hopefully we will develop one for the Apple one. Okay. It could be easily to collect and save the data, and the data will transmit it with the NFC functions. So it will be quite easy to use. And how to use it for a point of care? It is quite easy. If we want to measure the foot skin temperature or the foot blood pressures, we just need to simply attach it on your ankle, on the target surface with a medical tape. And if we want to measure with the body fluid, we just need to contact our sensors to the body fluid connected. And then we could just open the corresponding applications and just scan the sensors and read the data. So especially for the elder people, it will be very, very convenient, and it could give a very fast result. So therefore, we could reduce the need to travel to the hospital, and therefore improve the disease management and improve the patient's independence. But for my project, I need to call the collaborations and participation because I can't simply do it by myself. So we are currently requesting the participation of 8 male volunteers for our studies. And the participation should be aged from 50 to 70 because I'm aiming from the elder people with an average body mass and an average height. And to ensure our accuracy of our study, we are kindly asked the participation should be non-smokers and without no history of cardiovascular disease because it probably might affect the result. And from the healthy control group, the participation should have no history of diabetes, but for the patients group, they should have the diagnosis with type 2 diabetes. And the validation and evaluation including 3 trials. The first 2 are focusing on the foot and is focusing on the temperature sensors and blood pressure sensors. So basically, it includes the validation of it on healthy participations. The participation needs to wear our device on their feet and doing some very mild activities. And one system is approved by clinical is called BioPack. We will use that to monitor the ECG signal and the body temperature or the blood pressure signal to compare the results and doing the validations. And with the diabetes, we want to do a performance evaluations. So the procedure is quite simply the same, but the diabetes only need to wear our products in a clinical environment under the supervision of the doctor to ensure the safety. And also the results from the BioPack and our products will be compared to evaluate its performance. And for body fluid glucose sensors, we are calling all the participation to do the evaluation experiments because the validation project will be done by us in laboratory environment. And so the participations only need to provide a significant amount of body fluid like saliva or urine under the supervision of the doctors, and we will use our device and the commercial device to get the results and compare to do the evaluation of the performance. And here's my reference. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Okay, this is demonstrate some of the research from the PhD student project, which really just as a way to introduce cross-disciplinary research. You can see what the students are trying to do, even though they have quite a limited background in the humanity and the medical school. They are more engineering, material scientists. Therefore, your participation help to your suggestions to their work are very important. Okay, any questions, please?
Could you sew those into socks? Wouldn't that would be quite easy for an older person to put on their diabetic socks and they can get that information?
Theoretically, it can because it's based on textiles, so it can be.
I look forward to that in the future.
I hope so. I hope I could do it. Yes, it has the possibility to do it on the socks.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions? Yes.
Lovely talk, but can I ask why you're concentrating on type 2 diabetes and not type 1? So type 1 is the insulin-dependent one where control of blood glucose is much more of a problem.
I focus on type 2 especially because it's the major type of the diabetes. As far as I remember, it is around 95% of the
Yeah, it
patients
is a
are.
major one, but it doesn't have problems with glucose control to the same extent as type 1.
But it still has the differences of the glucose. But yes, in the future, if I focus on the glucose, I will also try to see if it could apply for the type 1. So for more people, it will be like,
Thank
I
you.
hope I could do
Yeah, it's
more.
good suggestion.
Yes.
Maybe one of the issues we need to identify the population of the participants. If we get enough participation, that's a very good sort of advice. We can look into that. Yeah. By the way, they didn't mention the wearable devices is only into Android. In fact, that's the history, because that technology has been developed more than 5 years ago. At that time, Apple has not opened the NFC function. Now that Apple has, about 2 years later, they already enabled the NFC function. Therefore, we just rewrite, produce an Apple app that you can receive the information.
Yeah.
So it's not limited to only Android. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions? Thank you. Thank you.